G'day viewers, JodoCast again, and this time round I've got a couple of projects on the go at the moment. So this one we'll have a look at something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and that's an XBZ mod. So the idea is to take one of these and one of those and put them together using some of that to hopefully make something that has a reasonable sort of FPS. I want to put a scar barrel on it and try and gain some accuracy. And so the plan is to basically make a sniper type blaster. I also want to do some aesthetic mods to make it look like a particular type of sniper rifle. So yeah, we'll start getting some bits and pieces together and try and make something of all this stuff. So stay tuned and let's see how we go. Alright, so first things first, we've opened up the Recon and gutted out all the supports in this section here on both sides, taken out some material in this back point here to allow for the trigger part of the XBZ. We've also taken the end thing here, lopped the end out of it and cut a notch in the bottom of it to allow for the trigger point as well. Now there's also been a scallop taken out at the back here on both sides, so I'll build up a ledge on here to slide out through that, so when you pull the trigger a little wedge will push back and execute the trigger push of the XBZ. Now the next part was the XBZ, so what I've done is, that'll fit in there like that. Now I've taken the original barrel piece and trimmed that back, and I have made a brass insert that fits into that. It is sleeved internally into the piece here, and is, I'm not sure what size it is. I get really confused with all these different sizes, but it's whichever size is like the snug fit for a Nerf dart. So your dart fits in there, and it's quite a snug fit. But I've also given it a polish, as you can probably see, so that the dart fits in there quite nicely. Now, what I've done with the front section is I have taken the bolt sled, throwing things around, and made a reverse loading breech, so it sits up the front and sleeves over the other part and then slides back. So I'll show you how that works. Okay, so it sits there like that, so your magazine will slide up in here and your dart will click up into the breech like so, and then as you bring the bolt back it will sleeve over the dart. As you can see there, this is really quite difficult using one hand, but it basically pulls back, sleeves over the dart. Hang on, I'll show you in the finished position. So it pulls all the way back, sleeves over the dart, giving you a sealed breech, which protrudes slightly at the tip here. And then I've made an extension to go over that, so it gives you a longer barrel length, so your overall barrel length is longer, so like so, and that will fire your dart. Now I want to put a scar barrel on the end of that also to induce some twists to increase accuracy, so that's where I'm at the moment. So we will go about modifying the trigger so it actually depresses the little nib on the trigger mechanism of the XBZ, and we'll continue on in just a moment. Okay, so moving forward with the blaster, what I've done is I've done some aesthetic mods using some 3D printed parts. There's these on each side which are glued and screwed into position. They are actually guides for the stock. I've got a Picatinny rail which is going on top. These are a locator guide for the stock rail as well. So they are on the other side of the blaster as well, glued and screwed into position. And I've done a custom 3D printed priming handle. So that's all been designed and 3D printed and attached to that. It'll all be getting a nice paint job, so it'll all look the goods once it's finished. I had to do a trigger extension to go back and actually activate the little plunger on the XBZ, so that trigger now sits in there like that, and as you can see it slides through the back there and the ramp pushes back, which is what will activate the XBZ. So what we'll do now is we'll get the breech and XBZ tank into position, and then I'll show you it just briefly before I close the blaster up. Okay, loosen screws, and then from here and here. Alright, so I'll grab the XBZ, we'll get that in position, and then we'll show you it before we close it up. Okay, so now I've got the XBZ in place. I've painted the rear tube black because I kind of want it to disappear once it's on the main blaster. Got the brass breech back into place and everything, and you got the prime bar set up there to prime the blaster. So I think we're pretty well right to close it up, so we'll put it back together now, and then I'll show you the completed receiver before we go to paint. Okay, so that's the receiver all closed up and ready for the stock attachment, etc, etc. I'll just give you a... Actually, I'll put the stock on it, and we'll just do a quick test load and what have you. Now, the good thing about this breech is that you can use either full-length darts or Stephens, so it will accommodate either type of dart. You just need either a Stephen mag or a full-size dart mag. So yeah, it's universal. So let me get the stock on this and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so that's essentially it with the stock fitted. That's the receiver, mag in with the stock fitted. Now the stock and the receiver part will be painted up. The pump action will be left black to try and have it remain as inconspicuous as possible. The locks on the side here, there'll be notches put on the inside edges of the aluminium tubing that will, once they line up with the spring-loaded latches that in these little locks that I made, they'll actually lock the stock into place in its extended position. So you basically will use the motion of the stock to pump the blaster and then slide it back into its full position, and it'll lock into place so it won't collapse on you as a stock. And then you will use it as it's intended for its sniper purposes. Now I'll just show you how the action works on it, and here's this is the barrel extension and scar barrel that I made for it. It's a 6-string with 1/6 rotation over 70mm vented scar barrel, and I don't know if you can see that very well, but see your scars there, just there you go. Yes, no, yes, losing it, no, well, yeah, anyway, so and it works quite well. So essentially what happens with that is it will slot onto the front of the blaster here, and like so it gives you quite a reasonable sort of barrel extension, so your overall length becomes quite long. And essentially with the primer, you slide that handle forward and it'll open up the breech, a dart will pop up, and then you slide it back to close the breech to load a dart. So I'll just do that quickly. Alright, so we've got it pumped up and we've got a dart chambered now, and with the scar barrel extension on, so yeah, I probably should have pulled the trigger a bit quicker than that because it sort of was a bit of a slow release, but you get the idea. It made a decent victim out of the cardboard of the print box. So yeah, so it hits with a reasonable sort of a pace. Now that's the receiver and stock and internal barrel part. Now the other part that I've been working on at the same time is the cosmetics, because obviously there's the stock kit and whatever, is the barrel extension. So in case you didn't already know, this is going to be a Cheytac M200 replica. So what I'll do is I'll just put the barrel extension on the actual receiver. There's a slight process to it because the scar barrel extension has to come out, be fitted through the main PVC pipe part of the barrel extension, and then the whole lot has to be coupled together, and then the conduit barrel put back into place and what have you. So essentially this is 3D printed parts mounted up onto PVC pipe, onto 25mm conduit and 50mm pressure pipe. The 3D printed parts that I have designed myself, like there's the catches for the stock rails and the front guides for those to go into. There's the stock itself, and the scar barrel, etc. I've designed and printed all these parts myself, and yes, I will be making them available on my Etsy store. So you will be able to buy a Cheytac kit if you wish to build your own Cheytac replica. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll put this together and I'll just show you what it looks like currently once it's all assembled. Yeah, once the whole thing is assembled, it's too long for my workbench, so I'll have to show you it on the floor there. So that's the stock receiver and barrel extension piece. So I've got a scope that'll go on top there, and then I've got to complete the paint job. So I will get to putting all these bits together and getting a coat of paint on it, and we'll come back and show you it once it's finished up. Alright, okay, so the Cheytac M200 replica is complete. I've got the folding bipod on the front. I've got the muzzle brake in the orange up the front because I've done it in the camo to try and simulate the look from the movie version. Now it's using an XBZ tank. You can see the pump at the back there, which is integrated into the stock and the stock slide. So what happens is you can slide the stock forward and that pumps your XBZ up. The brass breech is bolt loaded on the other side here. So turn it around the other side, and there's a bolt loaded brass breech which you slide forward. It opens up the tube so the dart can pop up, and then when you slide it back it closes the breech over, trapping your dart in the brass barrel breech, whatever. And then there's a brass barrel which extends up to about this point in the actual barrel on the internal. So you've only got like about a foot of exterior sheathed barrel before the dart actually exits. So the barrel is centered. There's a spacer so that it's centered inside that 25mm barrel. So to try and prevent it from actually like any barrel drag. So yeah, so that's my Cheytac M200. We'll put a couple of shots over the Chronometer just to see what it's doing. It shoots fairly well. Like it's got a fairly reasonable sort of FPS from the look and sort of the feel of shooting it. It's quite accurate, so I'm pretty happy with that. Being a sniper rifle, you would hope that it would be reasonably accurate. So let's take it out. We'll set up the Chronometer. We'll put a couple of shots over the Chronometer and see what it's doing. All right, so we've got the Chronometer set up. So we'll grab the Cheytac and we'll put a couple of rounds over it to see what it's actually putting out FPS wise. $166, $182, $174, $162. Alright, so we'll put the average up on screen. Oh, actually, you know what we should do? I'll put some, see if I can find some full-size darts. I'll put some full-size darts through it as well to see what they come up with, FPS-wise. Alright, let's see how we go with full-length dart. 181, 196. So that's with full length FVJs. 194.1. Alright. So there we go, this is the Cheytac M200 mod. You got the folding bipod. The stock folds in, that's the stock in its retracted position. So you can see that it folds up a little bit smaller for your storage purposes and what have you. And then you can just pick him up by the carry handle and off you go. You can carry it to where you want to set up and use him as a sniper rifle. And so you can use either your short length Steffens or you can use full length darts with it. And as you saw, the results are fairly similar using full length darts or Steffens. So, alright, thanks very much for watching this one. Now, shortly I'll be doing a video for Light Take, as they have supplied me with a heap of different darts to test. And yeah, I wanted to actually build this blaster so that I can test the different darts with it, as well as the Worker Prophecy that I have. So I've got a Springer and an air power blaster that I can test the two different darts, or the different dart types with. So there's two different types of blaster that you can actually test with. So I thought that would be good. So there you go. Alright, that's my Cheytac M200 with XBZ mod. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned, and you'll get to see that dart test off. Cheers.